Welcome to the Coop Tank. I'm your host, Steve Cooper, coming to you from SuiteRecording in beautiful Mount Laurel, New Jersey. You know, people, if you have a podcast, a video cast, an audiobook, hell, even if you need a studio built, SuiteRecording is a place for you. Joe Gangemi not only knows his stuff, but he's a great guy and he's honest. So go check out their website, Suite, SUITE recording.com, or email him at hello@suiterecording.com. Anyway, once again, we're back and we have a great panel. You know, every week I bring people I'm friendly with. I've known from networking. I know they're great workers. They're good people, and that's why they're here. And this week is no difference. And our first guest today we have from Radius 180. I know her as Kimberly Biglin, but now she's Kimberly Schieber. How you doing, Kimberly?
Great, Steve. Thank you for having me today.
And next we have from Insperity, my friend, the Aaron Nola fanboy. We have Steve Mullen. How you doing, Steve?
Hey, Steve. Thanks for having me.
And Colleen Walsh is with White Pine Events. I met her through networking through the chamber. How you doing today, Colleen?
Great. Thanks, Steve.
So, Kimberly, we're going to go around the room. Tell me about Radius 180. Tell me what you do and about the company.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I do is definitely a few different hats, but I'm mostly really going around shaking hands and making people happy. Growing businesses with a smile is what I typically say. But Radius 180, we are a IT firm that's focused on concerns around ransomware and data security. We also really help with end user training, especially when it comes down to the IT security world. I like to joke and say if it wasn't for a computer or for people, I wouldn't have a job. So with that, we help a lot of business owners who are very successful with an IT roadmap, not just focusing on today, but focusing on future growth and also the successes along that journey as well. We're located over in Cherry Hill, and then we definitely are right there on 295. So being able to focus on a nice radius. And our name makes no sense, to be honest. But when you think about it, make a circle around your business and put a line straight through. The top half of your business is what you know and what you're focusing on. And then the back half is where the IT is and where it's living. Because without that IT backbone, we wouldn't be able to grow and being able to have that type of security that you need.
That's interesting. I like that. That's a good explanation. I like the radius explanation. Next, we have from Insperity. Steve, tell me about Insperity.
Yeah, Steve. So Insperity we're an HR company, basically. We were started in 1986 by two guys that each had their own businesses and kept failing. And they're entrepreneurs, and they got together and tried to talk about, why. And what they realized is, so many small businesses just don't have the infrastructure and the knowledge beyond what they know. Like I'm selling this product or service, they know that, but they get a client, they start to grow. Now all of a sudden they're becoming an employer, and that has a whole world of different complex issues that come along with that. So they decided to start this company. Initially it was called Administaff. Changed it to Insperity in around 2011. And every day I get the opportunity to go out, talk to business owners about how we're going to help you contain your costs, align your people strategies with your growth strategies. So really, as they begin to grow and scale and the complexity of their business gets more difficult, we come in, we have 37 years of experience now working with companies to help them bridge that and get to where they need to be. We go to market with two different models. We're what's called a professional employer organization. We actually started the whole industry back in 1980, late 90s or late 80s. And we'll go in and we'll partner with a company, take the liability from a tax standpoint and HR compliance, so protect them from being sued by employees for various reasons, take that off the plate. And much like what Kim was just saying about how, she helps them focus on their business and they do the back end. Same thing with us. We kind of do from the people side of it, work with how to build that side of it up while they can then focus on just growing their business and doing what they know.
Okay. And how about you, Colleen? Tell me about White Pine. First of all, White Pine Events, tell me where the name came from, and then tell me about it.
Sure. So I grew up on White Pine Court. And so in my neighborhood in the community that I grew up in Washington Township was a really tight knit group. And we were a part of a lot of different milestones with our neighbors in our community. And so when I was thinking about my company name, I was thinking about the different experiences and my roots. And it just made sense that White Pines plays such a huge role in like who I am today. That that's how I ended up picking White Pine Events. And we're a company that manages in creating memorable experiences by providing event management. So we specialize in the planning and the execution of professional and social events. And most importantly, on the day of the event, we are there to manage it all. So we are there to ensure all the details are executed as planned, and it allows for the companies or the individuals that we're supporting to show up to the event the way that they want to, whether it's being a guest at their own event. We tend to work with a lot of different nonprofits. So this really allows for these nonprofits to work the room, find those people to thank them for their donation or get that coffee. So we've really found that being able to be there to be that middleman for the venue, the vendors, the partners, the volunteers, has really put those organizations or individuals in a position to really work and run their event the way that they want to by working the room. And we're there to deal with all the nitty gritty.
Okay. So y'all told me what you do and told me about your companies, and you're all in very competitive fields. I mean, seriously, you run into a lot of competition. So let's say I need one of your services and I'm talking to you and three of your competitors. What makes you different? How are you going to sit there and say, hey, this is why you're going with us? And now, you can tell me what the business is about, but we're going to start with you, Kimberly. What makes you different? Why am I going to pick one Radius 180 over another company? And what do you bring to me as personal in your personality? What do you bring to the table?
Sure. Steve, that's honestly a really great question. And I get that a lot whenever I go out to meetings, my prospects, things like that, even networking. But to tell you the honest truth, I don't know. I can't tell you what the difference is. And the reason for it is because anybody can say, oh, we're great relationship. Oh, we're great communication. Yeah, sure. I can say that about us too. But really what it deep dives into is what you need as a client and what you need as your IT. And if it makes the best sense and if it makes sense for us to be able to continue to be a good fit for each other.
Okay. How about you, Colleen? Because there's tons of event planners out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I really try to meet people where they're at. So when I'm having these different conversations, one of the things that a colleague of mine asks when she's onboarding clients is like, let's imagine this was like the last meeting that we're having. We're talking about the wrap up. Like, what are we saying in this meeting? Like, what went well? What did we like? What did you think was going to keep you up at night? And kind of work my way backwards and really learn what the ultimate goal is. Because there's some people that I've discovered that are like super micromanagers and they want to micromanage every little thing. And that's fine. I'll meet you where you're at and we'll come to like a happy medium of like what that looks like. And then there's other people that are really just like, Colleen, I want you to show up to these meetings, these conversations, give me something to react to. And then I just want you to continue running. So I really try to take the time to really understand people's workflows, their expectations, and really what the end goal is for them, whether it's we raised a certain amount of money, I didn't lose sleep leading up to this event, or, we got some really great media out of it. So once I kind of know those things, that's when I can work my way backwards to really create that memorable experience that I not only want their attendees to have, but them as my clients and my partners. I want to make sure that it's a pleasant experience for them, planning and working on their events.
How about you, Steve? Why am I going to pick you, Steve Mullen, and Insperity?
Well, besides the fact that I stay involved with you as a client for the life of your being with Insperity, I'm not sure if that's a positive or negative. But I think to your point, everybody is out there kind of says they do a similar thing. So we do payroll. So there's a lot of payroll companies out there. Everybody has a technology that they use for this, that they bring, their customers onto and all that. But I think really what separates us and what we really look to kind of build that relationship up with is on the service side of it. So when you come on as a customer of Insperity, you're assigned a dedicated team. As I joked earlier, I'm involved the entire time as long as you're a customer, but you have a dedicated team of an HR specialist, a payroll specialist, the client liaison who's going to be there available for you 24/7. So that side of it is, because as I said earlier, in explaining what we do, as companies are growing and they become more complex, there's a lot that they don't know. And having that dedicated team behind you to you can do a chat, you can do an email, but you can always pick up the phone and get somebody who's on your team, who knows you, their cell number, all of that. And that's where we really try to make a difference on the service side of it.
Okay, so we're all out there. Pandemic happened a while ago. I know, Colleen, you took a big hit because events, and we all took big hits. We missed networking. And where the pandemic had a lot of low points, there was also some very good points. I think a lot of people got better at networking. I think we built our networkers, our network bigger because of Zooming. But what is one business lesson, a valuable business lesson you learned during the pandemic that once we were able to get out and go out again, you could implement? For me, it was, being able to talk to people from all over. So I implemented that, and it was something where I actually knew people, even instead of going not knowing anyone. Like the only people I knew before the pandemic was Kimberly. I'd known her for a while. But what is a positive lesson you learned that you could implement getting out into the real world? And we're going to start with you, Colleen, because as I said, your business pretty much shut down completely.
Yeah. Yeah, it did. And I also I launched White Pines right at the end of 2019, start of 2020. So it was quite a journey. And I've been telling everybody that I almost feel like this year has been my real freshman year. Like I made it work, learned Zoom like the rest of us, like self-taught, was able to do tons of virtual events. And I joke with people saying like, I thought I was going to go back to school to be like a dental hygienist. Like I really was worried at one point where it was like, is this really are events going to be what events once were? So I didn't realize it at the time, but like just taking advantage of the different networking opportunities. I look back at it now and it's like, I was planting all these different seeds. So just like building these different relationships, interacting with people, doing their Zoom management, it really put me in a position that now, my freshman year, like is totally, I know that a big part of what it looks like this year is because of just the networking that I did during that year. And it was looking back at it, it was a blessing because when I started my company, I didn't really have a network in the area. I was going to sign up for different chamber events, and this actually made it a lot easier for me to like put myself out there, meet tons of different people, not only in like the South Jersey tri-state area, but like Steve, like you said, like I've gotten to interact with people in different, the West Coast, different countries, things along those lines. So planting these different seeds over these last couple of years and seeing them all start to like come up and root has been really exciting. And so I really now approach a lot of these situations that when I'm meeting new people, that's my approach now. Like I'm just planting this seed and something will eventually come out of it, whether it's for me or they're asking me, who do I know in my network that could fulfill like a need that they have. So the seed thing has really been my biggest win out of the pandemic.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I think for me, what it really did was reinforce the value of relationships. So I've been in sales for 20 plus years. When you start out, networking is almost like that necessary evil, like cold calls and all that. Walking into a room of people that you don't know, or you might know one or two, is kind of daunting as a young person, but you learn to kind of overcome and adapt it. And then, when the pandemic hit, I actually resisted the whole Zoom thing for a while. And I'm like, I don't want to sit on, one of 40 people on a Zoom thing and whatever. But when I got into it, it really did help, again, kind of give me that kick in the butt to say, yeah, this is what it's all about, relationships, getting to meet new people. build a bond, find common interest. And then now that things are opened up again and you're out, it made it much, easier to kind of go into a room and say, oh, I haven't seen you in 3 years other than a little, square. And, you're a lot taller in person than I thought you were, that sort of thing. But it really helped kind of reinforce that to me is, before joining Insperity, I worked for a company that did not encourage networking. They didn't care if you did it. They didn't reimburse me for anything, but I still kept a couple of my groups alive and out of pocket paid to go to a couple places because I wanted to keep that network alive and those relationships there. And so once now we're kind of sort of back to normal, being out there and just having those relationships get even, deeper is rewarding.
How about you, Kimberly?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of have the same perspective as Steve, but a different perspective in the fact that I am in technology. So knowing that how strong of what you need to be able to qualify to work from anywhere and to be able to work at home or wherever you were during that pandemic or what was going on, it really puts an insight onto what is happening today. Being able to have different things that you never knew you really needed, and knowing the trust and the value and everything else. And for me, like Steve said, I mean, with the partners that I have and with the trust and knowing that they, on a partners as a vendor standpoint too, what they changed for individuals and what I saw as and being able to trust them even more to what they want to be able to provide to everyone. And then on a friend stand, I mean, I feel like it was just so much of us being able to be together and talking and knowing day to day, like, oh man, how's today going for you? And it wasn't just oh yeah, like let's talk about business. It was let's talk personal, let's talk everything. Seeing a dog in a video, it's more common now. Having babies in videos, it's more common now, where before it was like, oh no, you have to stay out, you have to shut your door, you have to make sure you're on mute. And it's like being able to be more personable like that. That's what I think is great, being able to come out of it, and being able to see a lot of different things. So that's what I took out.
So we're all different stages of our lives. I'm old, decrepit, and almost in the grave. And you have all, some of you have children. I know Steve, you have children. Colleen, I don't think you have children. I'm not sure. Kimberly, you're have a stepdaughter and you're newlywed. What at this point in your life, what motivates you? Like, what sister, we can all say when you're younger, you might say money motivates me. I see that, like you meet a lot, we still meet people like, hey, check out my car. It's all about money. And that motivates them. There's nothing wrong with that. I want to be more fulfilled than just money because, it's money can only go so far. But what motivates you? And at this point in your life, Steve, what motivates you these days?
Well, for me, it's, one, it's, again, I got two college age kids that, I'm trying to, one, set an example for, but also set up and give them the foundation that when they get out for their next part of their lives, that they'll have that basis to understand what it takes to be successful for whatever that means to them individually. And they're both very different kids. And they're definitely a hodgepodge of me and my wife. So, to me, it's like, that's what I look at is trying to be that, that quote unquote provider, but not just financially, but it's on an emotional level for them too. As the son of an Irish Catholic cop in Philly, we don't show emotion too often, but it's a matter of, showing them from that side of it, what it takes to, be a proper gentleman going forward, which isn't always the case these days, unfortunately.
How about you, Colleen? What motivates you?
Well, that's such a good question. A big thing that motivates me now is time. I really value time, whether whether it's how I'm spending my time working on things or having different meetings with people, or even just time where I don't have any responsibilities. So I really want to position myself that when I eventually am not working and retired and things like that, like I have time to do things that I want to do or time to travel. And so when I just think about that, that's just really important to me. And that really motivates me. I want to be efficient and respectful when it comes to all of those things, but I also want to be able to like enjoy it, because I sometimes struggle like appreciating the things that really matter in the moment. And so lately that's kind of been my thing, is my goal, as I'm just kind of even planning out like a daily day, like what does that look like in the sense of like, how do I want to spend the amount of time working on certain things, or how do I motivate myself or reward myself for meeting these many little goals and things like that. So I love that question. That's a good one. I haven't really thought about that before.
How about you, Kimberly? Because, I've known, as I said, I've known you from your past company. You've always busted ass since I've known you. You've always been out and present. You're one of the first people, one of the early people I met networking. And what motivates you?
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think it's been 10 years now, Steve, that we've actually known each other.
No. I've only been back for 6.5. So you've only known me for 5. But I'm such an albatross. It just seems that much longer. Like, holy shit! I've known Steve for 5 years. I'm like dog years. It's like you feel like you know me for 35 years. So no. So what?
Absolutely. I mean, being in this game now, well, I've been in this game, quote unquote, now for 10 years. So knowing you for half of it, that's even more, that's incredible. But it's a great question. Going on a little deeper level. So yes, I do have a stepdaughter. She's 13. And my husband, he's a detective for prosecutor's office over in Burlington County. And I just want to make him happy and proud every day. My own family, my parents, and things like that. And showing my stepdaughter that, honestly, a lot of people don't know this. I never went to college. And with that, I want her to know what she can have and what success she can have in any journey she takes. It wasn't in the cards for me at the time. When I was right out of high school, I had a surgery that I was bedridden for a year. And with that, I sold Mary Kay for my bed in order to pay for a couple of bills in my car and stuff like that. And I was living with my parents. And then from there, it just turned into like, okay, well, I kind of like sales. Okay. I kind of like marketing. I kind of like networking. And then from there, it just led into my path, I guess you can say. I really wanted to be a gym teacher and coach and stuff like that. But on another perspective, it's just, I just want to be able to succeed and with all the different goals that I have, my vision board and what, not just right now. So being able to set up a couple of things here and there, but then also what's next year, what's my 3-year, what's my 5-year, what's my 10-year, and being able to do that. So now that I'm at the point in my life where I'm now married, I have my house. I'm actually 7 months pregnant. I don't know if you knew that either.
Congrats.
Thank
Breaking
you.
news, people, this is exclusive. This is a South Jersey business exclusive.
Yes.
Kimberly Schieber is pregnant. Oh, right. That's awesome. Congrats.
Thank you. So now just even like this weekend, we halfway finished her nursery. So we're having a little girl. That was a goal because it was so many different things that we were doing. So it's just, preparing for the bathroom, preparing our house, preparing her nursery, preparing the basement, whole nine, and then future goals for being able to have that time, like Colleen said, and being able to show your children that you could do whatever they want and succeed for them, like how Steve said.
Okay, so you're all motivated. That's good. We all have different characteristics. In your work ethic, what is a characteristic you don't like about yourself? Like me, I procrastinate. And I said this last week, I'm working on a speaking and book called Don't Be a Jerk, the comedy of networking. It's half keynote, it's half stand-up comedy. It's all in my head, but I just don't sit down and write it. And if you know any writers, and I've written a screenplay before, writers, we always sit there. We love it when we get behind that computer, but it takes forever. We'll start straightening our desk. We'll do this, or oh, honey, I'll go get some avocado at Sprouts. We push the shit away. But what is a characteristic when it comes to your business world that you do not like about yourself and you want to change, but for some reason you haven't? And we're going to start with you, Kimberly, because you're shaking your head like you know exactly what I'm talking about.
So as ironic as this is, I really don't like using the cloud. I write pen and paper for everything. And I have to put it back into the computer. And I always like like if you ask me where something is and you ask me what's going on, or you ask me what I did the other day, yeah, sure, I have it, but it's in my notebook. So I guess in a really best way to put it is I'm the most organized, unorganized person because I have it all. It's just all in journals and in pen and paper with maybe a little doodle next to it, because that's just the way that I still flow with things.
I'm getting better at that. I would sit there like for the grocery list. I write it down because I hate when I put it on my phone and I got to stop and look because I'm losing my memory as I get older. But I'm the same way. I love writing down. Steve, what's a characteristic that you bring to your work world that you don't like about yourself? And
First of all, what's a grocery list? That's one of my wife's pet peeves. I never add things onto the list, and then we always forget it when I go to the store. I would say for me, it might be along the lines of what you said, Steve, with the procrastination. I've always been someone who of the mindset that it'll get done, it'll work out, whatever needs to get done, even if it's at the 11th hour, I'll get it done. Whether that was coming up through school, and then now into my workplace. So I'm actually working on a list that I've written down 3 times today that I got to get to my boss. Over the last 3 weeks, I've written a note to myself to get it done, and I'm finally doing it today. I think it's probably that mostly, and just kind of always trying to be consistent, and then you kind of fall into habits. I think particularly when you're in a sales role like this, and you kind of go through the ebbs and flows of a life of a salesperson. You get a meeting. All right, now you got to prepare for that meeting. All right, the meeting's done. Oh wait, I got to get more meetings, and you're kind of just trying to stay consistent and be that way, and be more proactive. Like I joked about the grocery list, getting a little bit more detailed and organized so that the consistency will flow from that. So it's probably what I would say most.
See, I'm learning. I know my wife, she always puts lemon in her order. So I know when I'm at the store, I always text her. I go, you need a lemon? And half the time it's no, half the time it's yes. But I know she always has a damn lemon in her house. And by the way, people, ShopRite has the nicest lemons, the one in Marlton. It's just really nice sized lemons. Colleen, what's a characteristic you don't like about yourself when it comes to work?
Yeah. I don't know why I'm struggling with that one. I think it's more I don't have like like a good daily routine. And so that kind of I just know every time when I have a routine, I'm in a better space. Things are a lot more structured for me, especially because I'm a super structured person and I'm very detailed, and like I really do get into the nitty gritty of things. But one thing I really don't like is that I don't have a daily routine, and that's something that I really need. And I think some of that is just I came from like corporate America, was used to always like leaving the house, going to a place. And so now that it's me here working from home, like it's a little I appreciate the grace that I give myself, but sometimes I feel like I need to be a little more stricter when it comes to just coming up with these different routines.
So we talked about what you people don't like, your characteristic. We'll talk now about a little about networking. What makes you a good networker? Because you're all networking. That's how I know you. That's why you're on the show, because you're all good networkers. You know what you're doing. You're not that asshole who walks in the room who's, humble bragging or, hey, look at me. Or, you're the person with the nice hair and the suit. Look at me. You talk to them and they're just giving you your business card. You're all real people. And I think that's so important now in networking. I think the flamboyant disappeared when Zoom came in, because people were saying, if you don't have substance, get the fuck out. That's basically what happened. Steve, what makes you a good networker? Because you've been doing it for a long time. You know a shitload of people. What makes you a good networker?
Yeah, I think, and I learned early on, as I said earlier, about the value of relationships. It's not just about what those relationships are going to bring me, but I've learned long ago, it's what you can bring to that relationship. If you're coming as a giver, it's going to come back to you. So I always try to go into a room with that mindset. And I think from getting into advertising early on when I was just a young lad. I just had a passion of talking to people about their business. And I always say I'm a marketing and branding guy in a sales role, because I just always have that kind of passion. Tell me what you do and what your challenges are, and let's kind of figure out whether that's coming up with a creative, ad campaign for them back in the day, or now it's like, all right, what are you struggling with your people? Are you finding tough to hire now, retain people, whatever? What are you doing to help that? And then trying to figure out a solution to other people's problems. Like I said, I think when you go into it as a giver and trying to help people, it's going to come back. So there's no altruism 100%, but I think it's, if you start with that premise, it will come back. And you just try to be genuine. I mean, just be who you are. So I go in, I can be an asshole. I can go in, and I can, make a joke or whatever. And I'm sure I've walked away from people. I'm like, who's that guy? But you know what? I'm who I am, and I try to be as genuine and a positive person, and hopefully that comes off.
Steve is like the biggest Facebook troll when it comes to Aaron Nola. And I actually got in a shouting argument with his idiot friend who, because he was just being rude. And he said, basically, I said, made something. He said, well, I'm saying you're not that bright. And I just laid into him. But so I know Steve, but I've never been offended by Steve. So Colleen, what makes you a good networker?
So when I was talking about like clients and just like meeting people where they're at, that's like a big part of networking. I really like these last couple of years with things being on Zoom. That made things personally a little more comfortable for me. So now that like in-person networking is happening, it's been really nice walking into a room and at least recognizing some faces. But I think one of the reasons that I'm good at networking, I'm a people person. Like I really enjoy interacting with people. This is why I do events. And a big reason why I do it is because I love that every day is a different day and I get to work with so many different types of people. So I really love putting myself out there and remembering that, like, I feel like the pandemic really had, brought down walls. Like Kimberly, like you were mentioning about like dogs and babies and things like that coming on there. Like I feel like now having conversations with people are a little more relaxed, a little more comfortable, and like you really can like kind of talk about like where people are at, whether it's their personal or professional life. And I think that really allows people to really like see who you are as a person and like your core. And that's really important to me. I want people to know who I am, know where I stand, and I want to know the same thing with them. And being able to do these like different in-person events has really allowed for that. And like even just like hearing some of like the bantering going back and forth, like it's fun to like have that and like have these types of relationships because they are also like a friendship as well. So I think meeting people where they're at, and then not putting so much pressure on yourself when it comes to like networking. Like I definitely used to do that, and it's really it's not as heavy as I once like made it seem.
How about you, Kimberly? You're always out and about.
So when you grow up, your mom or dad and always tell you don't talk to strangers. Well, newsflash, you do that for a living. Being able to just, I'm a people person through and through. I have a very high personality, and just being able to connect on multiple different levels, sports, going golfing, making sure that people feel welcome, talking about coffee. I mean, it's just one of those things where it just came. Now networking doesn't come naturally to everyone. It just doesn't. Sometimes individuals feel nervous about going into a room that they don't know. And like Colleen, as you were just saying, I'm assuming that's what you were getting at.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, it's just, I enjoy stepping in, saying hello, saying what's going on. I have a really nice handshake. I'm sure Steve, and both Steves know this right now. And that's a conversation starter. My mom always taught me if you're proud to meet someone, you show them in your handshake, and that's your first impression. And I took that all throughout my whole life, even to hire people and things like that as well. And so you never know who you're going to meet and who's going to be there and what's going to happen and who you can help, and then also the trust value too. I mean, like I said earlier, it's been 10 years of this that I've been networking, going out and about and kissing babies and stuff like that. And if you ask my parents what I do today, I'm like Chandler Bing from Friends. They have no idea what I do. They just know that I travel and that I go to different lunches and meet a lot of people and this and that, and pictures that they see that I'm tagged in online and stuff like that. But I mean, networking, you meet so many people that become not only colleagues but friends.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the biggest thing for me too. I mean, I love that I can say I can think of 10 different people right now off the top of my head that are just I've grown with, and they've known every stage of my life, and they're an honest friend, and I can call them and say, hey, I need help. But not only like, hey, can you introduce me to someone, but like, hey, my tire just got a flat, can you come and help me? And I know that they would, kind of thing.
Okay. I'm not going to drive you to the airport though, just so you know.
That's not a problem.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you mentioned Chandler Bing, because that actually segues into my next question. And no, it's not about friends, but I was at a party the other night, and my question is going to be about LinkedIn. And my feeling about LinkedIn is, I think LinkedIn is very very valuable to us. I think we need LinkedIn. I think it's good, but there's a lot of stuff on LinkedIn that pisses me off. There's a lot of terms, stuff like that. And it's funny because I was at a party on Saturday, and I was hanging out with someone I know who's been on the show, and we were talking about a term that he hates was pivot. And my whole thing is, my wife brought up the pivot episode on Friends when they're moving the couch. And this morning that was on the Today Show when he's going pivot, and I never saw it. But I always say something it changes every week. Like last week, I can't stand over-likers. Okay. Over-likers are people that like every damn thing. And you see it when you see their name always pop up. And after a while, it starts becoming insincere. I think it's bad for the brand. My pet peeve this week is people that are just kiss too much ass in a response. Like someone says, we're at this networking event, and they go, oh, it was such a luxurious time hanging at this event, and it was so wonderful to see you and your magnificent company. And it's like, cut the shit. Okay. Just say it was really good to see you. And maybe it's me because I'm a skeptic. Maybe it's, because I observe a lot, and something, it annoys me. Like the overlikers and just be frank. Like if Steve puts something nice, I'd be, hey, great article. I wouldn't say, well, that article shows the intricacy of this and this and this. What is something that bothers you, that pisses you off about LinkedIn? And then when you read something, and it can be pivot. That was an example, because I guess last year everyone was pivoting, and during the pandemic, we're pivoting. What is something that pisses you off, Colleen, about LinkedIn?
Oh, that's a tough question. I don't know if it's a blessing or not, but I'm not the best with social media, and I know that as like a business owner, that's something that I know I should do a better job with, and it's an important thing. LinkedIn, to me, what really annoys me are just like the rando messages that you get from people that like find you and they just want to connect with you, and like it's just a super generic copy that they're clearly copying and pasting. And so I find that really annoying, because I don't understand what the win is for them or for me, especially because it's LinkedIn. Like I can kind of understand like the stats and the algorithms and all the things when it comes to like Instagram and things like that. I can wrap my head around those things, but when it comes to LinkedIn, I don't really understand what the win is for you to just like randomly reach out to me and somehow you get an extra connect. Like I find it very annoying, and I find it to be a waste of time. And yeah, now that I'm thinking about it more, I'm getting more and more annoyed about it.
Well, what's also pisses me off about LinkedIn is when you get a request, to a connecting request, the check where the check should be on the right to ignore it, but they switched it. So I always check the wrong one. Then I go, oh my God, I just connected with this person. And I have to go back and connect them. But Kimberly, what pisses you off about LinkedIn?
Know your damn audience. That's what pisses me off. LinkedIn's meant for business. It's what it was put on there for. If you want to tell me about what's going on in your workout that you did in the morning with your shirt off while you're all sweaty, I don't care. Just put that on Facebook. Put that somewhere else. But that's what Instagram is. That's all. Just know your audience. Just know what's going on. And yeah, sure. If it's something that has to do with your business or something has to do with what you're doing or what your motivational this or that, sure, that's great. But just do it in a different way. That's my perspective.
That's a lot of people's. That's a people actually. That's piss a lot of people up. How about you, Steve? Because you always post nice articles about the industry. So you're someone who's very business oriented. I always promote myself because I'm an attention whore. I need I need that. But what is something that irritates you?
Yeah, it's funny because the answers that both Colleen and Kimberly gave were the two things that immediately came to my mind. One is how LinkedIn has become almost Facebook-like, and there's a lot of just crap on there that isn't business. And I can understand if you own a business and you want to bring in some kind of personality to your LinkedIn profile, great. But like, the shirtless workouts, I don't need to see. I don't need to see them anywhere, let alone on LinkedIn. So that, I think it's there's political crap that's on there now. And, that was a rabbit hole I went down on Facebook years ago and stopped doing it. So now it's over on LinkedIn. It's annoying. And then as Colleen said about, you'll get a connection request and I'm thinking, all right, well, maybe there's something here. We can like potentially build a relationship, help each other out. Yeah. Okay. I see what industry they're in. I'll connect with them and we'll see. And the next thing you know, they're in their DMs and they're their financial planner and trying to pitch you financial planning services. And I'm like, that happens like all the time. And it's like, let's build at least a foundation of a relationship before you pitch me, and then and we'll go from there. So usually it's like I don't even respond to them, and then they get disconnected or unfriended, whatever it's called on LinkedIn.
Well, just September 13th is my wedding anniversary. I'm going to post a picture of me and my wife, so y'all better like it. So if you don't, that's fine. I'll disconnect you. Here's a question I asked just for the listeners, because I don't read business books. Okay, I've never found them insightful. I did read The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell, and I'm reading one about public speaking. Well, not getting a speaking career going, but I don't really read them. I don't find them interesting. I'd rather read books about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, to be honest. For you, do any of you read business books? And if so, what was a really valuable one that you would suggest to someone? And we'll start with you, Steve, because you just shook your head. And I think we've talked about this before, but do you read business books, and what was a really valuable one to you?
Yeah, I mean, I do, not as much as I used to, and I'm trying to get back into it right now. I'm reading a book that our CEO wrote right now about taking care of your people. And it's, just about how as an employer, there's a responsibility. If you take care of your people, everything else falls in line. I found that over the years when I've read those books, it's not necessarily there's an epiphany or there's some new thing that I'm learning, but it's almost a kick in the ass to say, there are things that you used to do that you got away from, and these are practices that work. And it's kind of almost a reminder to do some of those basic best practices that every salesperson has to do. I've read, I think the one that sticks, you just mentioned Malcolm Gladwell, Outliers was one that I think stuck with me because it talked about real life people like a Bill Gates or other folks that really are no smarter than anybody else, but they put in the time. I think it was like 10,000 hours that they had before you become an expert in something. And that book, I think, always stuck with me. And it's not just about those overnight successes that took 20 years. Behind the scenes, that person was working and practicing at whatever craft they became successful at. And that's where that true success comes from. It's the journey along the way as well.
How about you, Kimberly?
So I'm not a huge reader. I never have been. But one thing that I have always enjoyed are audiobooks and podcasts and things like that. But one book that I downloaded, and I honestly hated the way that the person was portraying it, as an audio, I stopped and I got the book, Atomic Habits. And like Steve said, in this book, it really mentions to you, like, I don't want to say common sense stuff, but it kind of is. It's like, let's talk about habits. Let's talk about really making a routine. Let's talk about XYZ. And in this, I'm really enjoying it. I'm almost done. It's actually, when you said that, I looked over my bookshelf to see what else is right there. But yeah, I enjoy this book and being able to go through, and it really does help, putting in the hours and knowing that the basic soft skills and the basic things of every day really comes down to your habits and what you're going to do. And it helps really in your business world and succeed. And even the motivation, like you were talking about earlier, because everything is a journey, and it starts with your behavior, and then it goes all the way around and what's going to happen and how that's going to be, because that affects everything from there.
How about you, Colleen?
I'm a reader, but I am not. That's the workbook kind of things that we're all talking about is not usually my style. However, it's funny that you mentioned the Atomic Habit, because I feel like that has come up in a lot of recent conversations for me. And so me talking about how like I want to get better at like really structuring like a routine or something, like I almost feel like it's a sign that I need to go get this book and read it, because it's like come up several times in conversations. Everybody that has read it has had great things to say and has similar things that you were just saying, Kimberly, where it was like, it was just like this one like little paragraph that all of a sudden just kind of like did this light switch moment for me. And so I don't have any recommendations, but hearing it again, I feel like this is a book I need to like go check out.
Cool. Well, I always end the show with this question. This is the last question. I always end the show with this question. If someone approaches you that's just getting out of school, could be high school, it can be college, it could be a trade school, it can be whatever. And I always use this term because my mom used it, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. She'd always say, be bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. They're getting out of school, or they're starting their path to adulthood or careerhood. What is some valuable advice that you would give them? Colleen, we'll start with you.
I think the advice that I would give this person that's, you know, hitting the ground running, one, to like remain excited, continue to like have this want and this need, but also to like just be aware of your surroundings, and just meaning like it's not all going to be like rainbows and butterflies. Like it's going to have some moments of different challenges and things like that. So just remember this excitement you have, because when you hit these walls, or you get these no's, or you get something that doesn't quite work out the way that you want, you know, it's okay to have the feelings that you have about that moment, but remember this fire that you have, because there's going to be moments where you really need to dig deep to like be able to continue to be successful. And I would also say that like put yourself out there. Like, what is the worst? Like, when you really think about some of like the worst case scenarios, and you really like peel back that onion, it's really not that earth shattering. So put yourself out there, and like remember this fire that you like have inside you of like this want to do whatever that goal is, or this next chapter that you're hoping to achieve.
How about you, Kimberly?
Don't be afraid. Don't, if you are able to do something that is completely outside of your comfort zone and you just don't know where it's going to lead, take it. There's nothing that's going to make you like just stop with that, because you're going to fall on your face, but that's what makes you stronger. You're going to have these experiences that are either going to be the best ones to be able to help you succeed, or they're going to be the worst experiences that are going to teach you and guide you to help you to succeed. And that's the biggest thing for me. I mean, that's what I've learned throughout my whole journey as in my own career, because the experience is what makes you, and being able to know not what's right and what's wrong, because who the hell really knows that these days, but really what is the best for you and for your path and for your growth, and being able to meet the right people, meet the people that they know, maybe hop on a flight and fly somewhere to meet a new prospect and close them 3 months later. Maybe even just being able to just guide everything in the directions. I mean, it's things that you never know what can happen, and just don't be scared. Just run for it, and being able to overcome those fears are what's going to drive your success and your path and career in so many different ways. And it's scary but fun.
How about you, Steve?
Yeah, I would say young whippersnapper. Be bold. Be curious. That might sound a little Ted Lasso-ish, but be curious. Look to find out what makes you happy and go after it. And I think too often, as you said earlier, Steve, everyone's motivated with money, and they come out of school and they want to make money and they want to do this and they want to buy that. That's all great. There's nothing wrong with that. But be genuine to who you are. And if you're seeking happiness and you're doing something that you really have a passion for, then all those things are going to come, and you're going to have some challenges along the way. But be bold. If you're not failing, you're not trying, is the old saying. So go out there and do things that are going to make you passionate, and that success will come.
That was awesome, you people. You all say some great advice today. Now, how can people get in touch with you if they want to use your services, or if they just want to reach out to you, if they want to send you annoying messages on LinkedIn? How can people get in touch with you?
Well, you can give me a call, my cell. You can shoot me a message on LinkedIn. You can be able to get my email. You want me to give all this information right now, Steve? Because I can.
What's your email? Give your email.
So it's K Schieber, SC as in cat, HIEB as in boy, ER at radius180.com.
How about you, Steve? Email as president of the Aaron Nola fan club it's steve.mullen, MULLEN at Insperity.com, and I'm on pretty much every social media platform too. And Colleen?
Yeah, I'm on the different social medias, but as you heard, I'm not super active, but I'm always down to interact with folks, or you can shoot me an email at hello@whitepineevents.com.
So people, reach out to all of them. Also, go into YouTube, watch the past episodes of the Coop Tank. Just search the Coop Tank and give me a nice rating. Make a comment, like the episodes. Just do that kind of stuff. Also, if you want to advertise, reach out to me. I have plans for 1 episode, 2 episodes, or 4 episodes. The people that come on the show are big shakers and movers. And the people that watch the show and listen to the show are also business people. So it's a great avenue. You're going to make a lot better connections than spending thousands of dollars for some lunch that 35 people show up. Also, don't forget SuiteRecording, SUITE recording.com. Joe Gangemi is the best producer out there. That's why I do my show here. So reach out to him. He can help you out. And also, he's with Rich DeSisto now, who has a big career in radio through the years. So check out them out. And that's about it. Remember, email me at thecooptank@yahoo.com. I'm Steve Cooper, and you all have a wonderful week.